My name is Nicholas. I'm an astrologer. I am live on YouTube. What's up? Doing a little just impromptu, relaxing stream here, and I don't know if anybody's gonna come on in the next 5 minutes, but it's been a big week for the Gemini worlds, I should say, plural, and a lot has happened uh, when it comes to Gemini and the planet that rules Gemini, Mercury, and a couple other planets that were involved with all this. And it doesn't end. As I do this particular recording, the Saturn and Venus, Saturn being in Pisces, Venus being in Gemini, are having a square today. And so, right now, so after this interesting vibrant at times week with, I think, a lot of erraticness for people. This Gemini stuff can be very difficult and shocking and heavily cerebral and almost too much going on. And just when I think it hit people, the moon moved into Cancer for the weekend, and Saturn has brought the boundary and the reality check to the Gemini story this week. And this Saturn Venus square that's happening today, tonight, it goes in tomorrow, uh, is a clue for those watching and those who will be affected by the Gemini transits, the Jupiter and Gemini transit uh, for the next year. And so pay attention if you're that person. I got somebody in chat telling me I look very tired and exhausted. Well, the lighting isn't the best, and I'm just relaxed. Yeah, maybe that's why I look tired and exhausted. But then again, if that's what you feel and think or whatever, I'm just chilling today. I've had a long 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm gonna go live on the phone. If I change the lighting, do I look tired and exhausted now? So anyway, so that's a very Saturnian thing, tired and exhausted. And I think a lot of people's brains this week and stuff because of the last week of Gemini transits, the new moon, the Sun Venus conjunction that happened, the Mercury Jupiter conjunction that happened, Moon in Gemini, everything. Saturn is bringing in the limit and the boundary and asking to slow way down. And this is again, pay attention to this because this could help you later on in the Gemini and Pisces part of your chart. You got mutable angles. Let's say your rising sign's mutable. You're really affected by stuff like this. For those who have booked with me the last week and a half and the sessions I had, thank you. I have more readings coming up. I left my Gemini rising special, Jupiter and Gemini, if you have that, or Venus and Gemini. So I left it up there. Moon and Gemini. I've had some wild, great conversations, but it's also good that there's a limitation on the conversation, a Saturnian limitation, because you can only talk so much. You can only think so much. And at some point, you got to like put that off to the side and slow down. And so the uh, the Saturn Venus thing that's happening. Uh, let's say somebody is affected by Venus in Gemini or has it, or it's a certain part of the chart. It's a money thing, a financial thing, a resource thing, and what Venus does in Gemini of looking for different places of resources, the socializing, the interactions, the multi connections, everything. Saturn or an authoritative situation or rules or responsibility, something comes in and kind of stops the pace. And so this is where we are right now is when we get into tomorrow, interestingly enough, at least Sunday here, the ninth, um, here where I am, Pacific Zone, the it's within hours here actually that then we have Saturn squaring the Sun in Gemini, right? So uh, Venus square Saturn square to the Sun, and then sneaky Gemini actually does something, or sneaky Mercury actually does something in the background here, and uh, it is kind of the final, at least for this season, final connection to the Aries eclipse that happened on April 8th. I think here is I'm streaming in about 12 to 13 minutes. I'm looking at the clock here. uh, Mars is leaving Aries and will go into Taurus here in about 12 to 13 minutes while I'm doing the stream, and uh, finally leave there and finally kind of close out part of this seasonal eclipse story. Mercury tomorrow in Gemini sextiles the North Node in Aries, and so there's remnants of this, and there's maybe some conversations that have to do with what happened during the last couple months from the end of March all the way till now in the Aries part of your chart, the Libra part of your chart. But here Mercury in Gemini makes a opportunistic great connection with the North Node in Aries. And so we have this kind of not closing out of a story in the Aries Libra eclipse world, because we have more of that coming down the line this year, later in the year. But finally, Mars leaves Aries, Mercury comes in and kind of verbalizes what the hell just happened with the eclipse stuff here. So that's kind of the next 24 hours. Moon goes into Leo tomorrow, and then we kind of inch towards a huge day on the 11th, on Tuesday, a big day. And just saying hi to everybody in chat. Earth Star, Steffi G, uh, Elisa Lynn, and Wake Me From This. Leanne Patterson, hello. Scorpio Muse, hello. But yeah, on Tuesday, we got a couple big things. Venus then does connects with Chiron. That's pretty good here to help with that story. But we're pretty much brewing here. As of tonight and tomorrow, we're brewing towards a, a big time intense square between Mars, newly ingressed into Taurus, and Pluto. And so that is combustive, that's intense. And anybody out there who has something in cardinal early degrees like 0, 1, or 2, this is big. And this goes back to the February Pluto ingress and Aquarius, all this stuff. But this is a biggie. And then Mars will do its thing in Taurus. It's going to conjunct, Uranus at one point. We'll pay attention when Mars in Taurus hits the 21-degree place that uh, Jupiter and Uranus had their conjunction. So now it's the Taurus's turn to deal with Mars in that part of your chart. And then we know after that we're going to go into Gemini land again when we get into July and August. So there's some quick thoughts there. A lot of things I've seen on social media, and give me a second. Let me see if I can do this. A lot of things that I've seen on social media and some of my colleagues and things we're talking about have just been like the overload, the information overload, the conversational overload that seems to have happened this week. And uh, I've had it in a sense because I've just been busy. Like I always am. I'm just busy all the time. Uh, but I saw it in my way. And some of the things that have happened this week, it seems sort of, I loved it. I loved the energy moving around. Maybe because of I have all this Gemini I'm used to it. But at the same time, it felt very Mercury retrograde-ish kind of vibe. So from Zoom calls not connecting to just, it seemed like circuits were overloading for situations. For me, it was I'm able to handle that shit for the most part. But I talked to a lot of people, and they're just like, by the time we hit yesterday and the moon going into Cancer, I think people were like, uh, and they still are. They're like recovering from the last 4 or 5 days. So saying that, I'm looking at chat. Uh, Steffi G says that's my brain regularly with my energetic Gemini moon, which means a year from now you're gonna have Jupiter on your moon. So yeah, stuff like that is going down for me. I am kind of taking it easy today, and I'm not gonna do a stream tomorrow. I don't think. I don't think I can pull a video off, and I don't care, to be honest. I'd like to talk about Mars, Pluto, so maybe I'll do something like this, somewhere else or something easy. Well, Mars, Pluto isn't easy. It isn't easy. Something I will say really quick that is very interesting and sad, actually, at least to me, is the last couple days we've had Mars and Aries go through the last degrees. We're at within minutes here of changing, but 29 degrees. Last October, when the eclipses were happening, and the infamous day of when the over in the Middle East when there was hostages taken and many people killed at a dance EDM concert, and it triggered this whole thing. Obviously, there's more to this history between in the Palestinian Israeli story, and it's just so deep and complex, and but it was around that time that's what happened. And Mars was conjunct to South Node in Libra at 27 degrees. It was the October 7th day. And, pretty much the last 48 hours this week were at those degrees. And today there was a major, in the last 24 hours, the major thing like Israelis they bombed a huge area to go rescue these hostages. And, I was thinking about this, and I was also thinking about when Mars was in Capricorn earlier in the winter and it hit these degrees and stuff was going down, and here it is now, and I don't think it's over. I think today was huge in many ways of like I don't feel it's just not good all the way around. So it's for the peacefulness, but definitely I want to say that because it was basically opposite. Mars has been as opposite the place it was last October. And so it just clicked on me when I watched it. There's, this stuff happening every day, but today was fundamental, like because it actually had to do with hostages taken in October. So the astrologer in me tries to step out and to look at stuff like that. And that was one thing here today. Um, uh, Mercury sextiling the node and Venus in Gemini sextiling Chiron this week. Peace process, you would think, but I'm not feeling it in that situation. But as for something more step out of that, um, again, I'm reiterating with people. You can go watch my Gemini episode I did with Chris Brennan 2 years ago. Like I'm talking about the breathing thing and the regulation of nervous systems, and if you're deeply affected by Gemini transits, Jupiter pushing this. And um, again, I'm not the type of person, an astrologer, that that yeah, an Earth star is bringing up the first eclipse that happened, the new moon eclipse that happened in Aries there in 2023. That was at 29 degrees, which was there was two new moons that happened in Aries in 30 days or whatever. It was like 0 and 1 degree, and then the other thing. So but yeah. So what was I saying? Shit. This is different doing this because it's a lot more weird to interact with this than on my regular setup here. But anyway, I was just oh, I'm not, Jupiter's obviously big time, and from the old school perspective can shield and protect. But honestly, I've seen things already this week that are hints of like, y'all need to be careful with Jupiter hitting something part of your chart. And it depends on your own chart and how you accept Jupiter in your chart or how you accept things in the Gemini part of your chart. But if you had stuff this week that was overloaded or kind of threw you off, you better put that in your brain for the next year because it's not all candy. You would think me as a Gemini and a bunch of planets in air and a bunch of other stuff I have that I'd be like psyched. And I'm cautiously psyched. I'm cautious about it because I've seen things over the years with Jupiter transits that aren't, you would think they were Saturnian based, right? But when you push too far on things or get overwhelmed or things get, there's no container or boundary, things happen that are tough. So again, um, maybe you'll catch me on another day, another time when I'm talking about Jupiter and Gemini, where I'll be a lot more positive about it. But right now, I'm cautious. Maybe because Saturn is squaring Venus as we speak right now, and is part of it, and it will be. But I am very happy that Saturn will square Jupiter 3 times in a year. The first two in Pisces and Gemini, first one in August. Um, and it's interesting, the third time that Jupiter and Saturn will square each other in this is like a year from now, but it happens in the first degrees of Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Aries with Neptune. So it's usually you get the three hits like this, but this one happens to overlap into the next sign. So regardless, um, just just note that. I also will say in about a minute here we got Mars moving into Taurus, so I guess instead of that glass of wine you're drinking right now, that maybe you should drink the whole bottle when Mars and Taurus goes in, or those whatever sugary somethings you have, like peanut butter cups, cherry cordials, ice cream, whatever sugar based thing you have, you could really kick it in here in about a minute. And yeah, just go ahead, just do the Mars and Taurus thing and eat the whole pint. So, because that's the type of shit that happens. But again, you'll pay the price come Tuesday with Pluto squaring Mars. So anyway, good to see you, James Sanders, in chat. What's up? Yeah, so that's what's going on. You got anything you want to ask me in the chat? I only look back here. Oh, my shirt. It's Edge of the Circle Books. It's a bookstore, old school bookstore in Seattle. And if you ever go into Seattle, it's in the University District next to the Neptune Theater. Go say hi. They got occult books there, a crazy wall of tarot cards you can look at, and books from the esoteric realm and other things, and all statues and altars. And then, actually, if you ever do that tour, you would go in that neighborhood into another bookstore called Magus Books on 43rd University Avenue, one of the famous used bookstores in Seattle. And that place is golden. That's a special place in my heart. This place too. But that's what I'm wearing. You know. So Wiki from this says, "Oh, I wish I had a peanut butter cup." Yeah, that sounds good, doesn't it? But I don't know. Today I went to the outdoor market and the strawberries were already coming out, and I was like, ah, here we are, you know. And that's another thing. Next week there's a bunch of other transits that happen, but we got a Mercury Sun conjunction that's going to happen next Friday, and I'm really psyched for this one. Along the way, Mercury was square Saturn in the middle of the week, and I'm actually excited for that one. I'm excited for these Saturn squares to Gemini planets because I know I will need them later on. So regardless, we're not that far, less than a couple of weeks now from the solstice. And again, I was hinted at an outdoor market today just from seeing the radishes and the garlic and but the fruit part of it were the strawberries. And actually I tried one and they weren't quite there yet, but they were happening. So yeah. Hey, I'm gonna look in chat. Leonardo Miguel, greetings from Argentina. ¿Cómo estás, Leonardo? Mucho gusto. Stephanie King, your bookstore tours and t-shirts give this Gemini Sun Mercury series book envy. I must visit a bookstore ASAP. Yeah. What else? I got books all around me right now. I haven't pulled everything out. I should pull another. I got another book in the mail yesterday. Uh, just fucking never ends with that shit. Bad habit I have. I used to have other habits. I don't have them anymore, but the book buying thing is whatever. Speaking of, for those locally in the Pacific Northwest and stuff, I'm going to be selling some of my book collection off. First locally, if I can do it face to face, and then at some point they're going to go up on eBay. I just need to get rid of a bunch of books to take care of the books that I've acquired, being more selective about the books that I buy. There's a lot of astrology books and stuff that I have that I know and I don't need anymore. So those are gonna go up for sale. I'll probably do a lot of that on my Instagram stories. So follow me. If you are new here, by the way, uh, hit the like button. And if you're old around here, hit the like button. And if you want to subscribe, hit it. For if you're new here, I don't usually do these vertical lives from my phone. But I am tonight because I just thought I'd say what's up and do my Gemini check-in uh, for this week, which is basically I'm going to give you some advice. Is as the other side of me, from green to red, the other side is going to tell you that um, you notice you're fried from this week mentally. Go into the Cancer moon and bring it out of your mind into your body. And then what are you feeling? That's the thing, the feelings thing. And I talked about this on my threads, and I posted a little bit about this about for the next year, whenever the moon goes into Gemini, and it will always make a conjunction with Jupiter, right? The moon takes roughly 2.5 days to go through each sign in the month. So the moon makes a conjunction with Jupiter, right? But then it's gonna square Saturn. And at certain times are gonna happen here, like in August, it's gonna happen at the same time. So the moon's gonna come in and conjunct Jupiter and square Saturn. And then when the moon leaves Gemini and goes into Cancer, then the moon is gonna trine Saturn in Pisces because they're two water signs. So for the 2.5, what's 2.5, 2.5, 5 days ish of moon in Gemini, moon in Cancer, I think are critical times of the month when it comes to the Jupiter and Gemini story and the Saturn and Pisces story and what the moon does to you. And I think here we've had in the last 24 hours hints of what one can do when they're overloaded mentally from the Gemini perspective and how we need to get out of our brains and actually get in tune. Like, okay, what am I feeling? Because a lot of times with air signs in the mental process, they'll disconnect emotionally. I won't know. It's all up here. So then we have to move it. That's why we like Cancer birthdays happening after Gemini because we get into the feeling zone. And so we need to process those things and move those things so that they don't get stuck up here and mess with you. It all depends on your chart and who you are, what you are, like your constitution is, and what if it's more Gemini, more water. But again, there's some people this week that I knew they had a lot of water in their chart, and they're like, I can't deal with this Gemini stuff. And I'm like, hey, luckily the moon went into Cancer, and then pay attention to this process every month. So, Stephanie says just pulled out Jupiter by Eve Jackson in honor of Big Love. I have that Eve Jackson book. I have that one. Eve did a bunch of those planetary books. The Saturn one I have, but I have that book. Hi, Dora Destroy. What's up? And or Star, now you look as delicious as strawberry. Am I ripe? Did I somehow get ripe during the stream? I'm not quite there yet. Taki Alexander, I'm new here, uh, and I love your channel. Bought almost all of your book recommendations from the conference. Ah, right. I have a story about that as well, and you're amazing. Thank you, and thanks for joining the stream. I'm assuming the the live with Chris is what you're talking about, and yeah, that's when you saw my mind, my Gemini mind out of crazy. And that wasn't planned. Him texting me like, "Can you do this?" I'm like, "Dude, what?" And I was already doing two different other things at that conference, but I have a history with that bookstore and with the guy Greg who runs it. And for over the years, I used to work in that bookstore, and so I could have kept going. I could, I could, Chris and I could have talked for another hour going through each book and the books that weren't there and all that kind of stuff. But I'm glad. I wonder if you picked up this book. I'm trying to think. The Robert Blatchke books on progression and stuff. I talked about a bunch of stuff. My friend's book on Venus retrograde, but this book. I mean, this book is like it should be in every astrologer's library. It's just like it's like a reference Bible. You know what I mean? I mean, I have a bunch of other ones I keep on me, but this combination of stellar influences. But this is an older version. You're gonna see it with a more yellow cover, but it basically is dealing with midpoints, but also just combinations of planets like. Actually, let's look at Venus Saturn really quick. Let's just see what the hell it says. So now we see what happens. Alexander, you got me talking about books. With a Gemini moon and Pisces rising. Whoa, okay, these transits are really going to affect you this year. And Stephanie is saying Moon, Jupiter, Saturn singing. That's, uh, oh, Stephanie says, I'm also here from the bookstore tour. You know what I need to do is I'm not done moving and I'm gonna be working on now until July, just arranging. And I should do a book tour over my shelf on a stream, but that's gonna take some preparation. what I want to do is just a book review once a month, and that's on my agenda to actually do a video with just one book and that kind of thing, and show the pages and all that. But uh, Leonardo, I'm not very good at English, but I think your YouTube channel is quite interesante. Oh, gracias, Leonardo. Huh. Okay, so let's look at después del el live stream, puedes cambiar la lengua para ver en español. Yo no sé ahora cuando estás en vivo, empujas el botón para verle en español las palabras o solo pasar después de la transmisión. Yo no sé. Pero, yes. Okay, so, um, okay, Venus Saturn. Okay, in this book right here. Okay, so it starts with it says principle. So it says inhibitions in love life, suffering through love. So that's the first Saturn Venus thing here that we're going like love life suffering, or there was a boundary put up today, with Venus and Gemini doing its flirtatious running around, who knows, or the spending on many different books, let's say, that Venus and Gemini with the languages, Mercury and Gemini, all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, you spent way too much on that book and you need to corral that shit. And anyway, so um and then in this book, they always have this system. It says psychological correspondence, right? So it says plus, a sense of reality, Saturn, soberness, a sense of duty, thrift and economy, reserve, loyalty, and faithfulness, self control, inhibition in the expression of the emotions. Okay, that's the positive way of looking at this. And then they have the minus way. You're going to see this there. Okay. And it says Saturn, Venus, emotional inhibitions, the state of being unsatisfied, hard heartedness, an unhealthy expression of the sex urge. What? Self torment, jealousy. The sense of duty dominates the inclinations of the heart. So you can see that's pretty good here, for the description of Venus Saturn combinations. And then this book is really about is on the other side here are the midpoint. So let's say if the sun was at the midpoint of Venus Saturn, it's just this book is brilliant. Ebertin, genius, Jen Zard, who runs Kaylee Libraries, President of USAR, knows a lot about Eberton's history, just along with wife, wrote a bunch of books. I know too, but this book and another book is one of my every day. I'm hitting it up just to hit my brain. So I'm catching up here. Oh my God, Alexander, if I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm sorry. Takia? I can't remember. I'll figure it out. Oh my God, they said, been having problems with ordering the Progressions book by Robert Blasky. I had my refunded. It's because it's hard to find. It's getting harder to find. But I think Jen in Revelor Press over there, she's in the process of, I think, publishing these books again under her publishing company. And I will let people know when that happens. That book is so deep, that Progressions book, that it's not for everybody. But if you're the researcher, if you're go in and yeah. James, I see your comments. Coyote, Ochora, hello. If you're here for the Edge of the Circle shirts. Ah, thanks, Coyote. Yeah. I don't know if you know Seattle, but the famous bookstore. Every time I go back to Seattle, I'm running through that store. Danny says, really like Blasky. Had a reading from him. Wow. Yeah. He influenced the way I read charts. Yeah, man. Yeah. Huge. You could catch some. You can catch some videos on YouTube if you look at like Robert Blatsky, the holographic transits, like a couple like really grainy videos out there. But he was a great teacher and just power mind. Mercury and Scorpio. Stephanie speaking in Spanish here. Necesito coger un poquito de eso. Yeah, that's good. Sellers are refunding my money. Yeah, that's very mercurial right there. Clue, a little tip I don't really talk about. Go to bookfinder.com. All right. Um, yeah. Oh, and you just received holographic transits, the orange book. That book is that book is overwhelming. Remember, in those Blaschke books, if you're into him, he's using solar fire to do his calculations, because he talks about in that book. But you could do that with any astrology software. But the holographic transits book, I mean, if you were to pick one part of the book to go on, one planetary sun combination, I would do Sun Venus, because we just had a Sun Venus conjunction this past week. So go, go read the Sun Venus, go find out where the prenatal Sun Venus conjunction is in your life, all that kind of stuff, and you can go down the line, so on and so forth. Speaking of, yeah, so uh, wake me from this, because what's the best astrologer you ever had a reading from? Wow, I don't know if I can answer that. I've had many good ones, just in different ways. And this is so weird to say, but because of my involvement in the community over the years and getting to know people and astrologers, so there's a lot of behind the scenes conversations with each other's charts that like are not paid or as a trade. So I've had many interesting conversations with fellow colleagues and certain people that have been fundamental, but I can't think of one right now, which is so weird. Um, I will say one, but she's an old friend. But way back when, I remember there's an astrologer. She used to be based out of Seattle, but she's in New York these days, I think. I gotta get a hold of her. But her name is Stephanie Galing. And if you go look her up. She's got a Substack. I've known her for a long time, and she's published like 3 to 4 books. She's got one called Planetary Apothecary, and Stephanie's background deals with dream work and essential oils and flower essences. And she's a Gemini. I could say this about her. She's a Gemini rising Pisces sun. I think, yeah. And the times we used to sit down and talk with my chart, she just always had some eloquent ways to say and transmit the deepest things. And they still stick with me to this day. So, Stephanie, I don't know if you're watching this, or I'll give you a shout here soon. Thank you for that. And you popped into my brain today with this question. So I definitely should talk to you, since considering you're Gemini rising. I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on over there? But she's got a great dream book that she just put out, multiple books. And I really like her weekly Substacks. They're written in such a way that um, anyone can read them and understand them, whether you know this much about astrology, you know nothing, or whatever. So, all right. So, there's no sound, or you tell me if you can hear me. Um, let's see. Oh, that's really nice. Scorpio Muse said, "I know an awesome astrologer I had a reading with." Totally, Nicholas. That's funny. Um, oh, good. Now it's coming in. Yeah, go look up Stephanie Galen. If I can't add things on the phone here. You know me, I like to bust a move and put things up on chat when I'm doing the regular thing. I want to know what these things are. They got these filters I can put on. Look at these. I didn't know I could do this. Well, that's like a 8 millimeter thing. That looks horrible. And then whoa, oh, I see. Huh. And then I think, what else can I do? Oh, well, yeah, you could sketch me out here, and now I'm on the silver screen. It's like Saturday night movie here. And I'm gonna leave you with a cliffhanger. I'm gonna leave you with a cliffhanger at the end of this. So, anyway, what else do I got here? Oh, there's mute. Highlight. Oh, I just highlighted something. I don't know what the hell I just did. Okay, so anyway, what else? Throw a couple things more at me. Oh, Danny says, this is some old school Seattle stuff Danny's putting here in the chat. My first reading was at Astrology at Tal with Jeffrey Wolf Green. Yep. And Jeffrey, basically, Wolf Green, who's an evolutionary astrologer that influenced evolutionary astrology, especially his Pluto book, which I think is his best book that I ever written. It's the only one I really go take a look at. Um, Came up and came through and did his practice through that bookstore that was owned by Greg Nalbandian family that runs Norwalk. So Danny's an old school Seattle person in here. And I already know the generation that you're in. I already know where your Pluto is. AV, hello, hi, how are you? You know, something came to my mind here about we were talking about Venus. Okay, so hold on a second. Um, since we're see, do me a favor. I'm gonna showing you all books, okay? If you're gonna go buy this stuff, at least try to buy it through my bookshop.org page. If you go to the copy, like if you go to the description here, you'll see like a bookshop.org link to my top 20 books or whatever. Try to do it there if you can. I know sometimes you're paying top money there, but I get the biggest cut there on an affiliate link. If I put the Amazon links, I only get a little bit. The bookshop.org, if one buys and they can afford to do it like through there, the prices, I get a bigger cut. Plus, it's being purchased from some independent bookstore. So I'm always trying to balance shit out. But yeah. Oh, Danny says I have Pluto conjunct Sun. Yep, Jeffrey's right up your alley then. uh, Wake Me from This is one of the sessions from Norway. I talked about Jeffrey Wolf Green and his chart and how charismatic he was. I wonder who was Patricia Walsh's lecture possibly. Um, all right, Stephanie Galing is the Dream Book. Galing, Gailing, Stephanie Galing Dream Book. So yeah, and listen, Alexander, I'm gonna say that it again. I don't blame you if you find a cheaper used copy and you can't use my affiliate. Like I mean, I don't. I do this constantly, you know. But um, again, you know, and after I'm done, I'll put the books I've mentioned here. I'll put my Amazon and the bookshop.org links in the description after I'm done. So saying that, let's just go on the Venus run. This one is hard to find. And you know what's crazy about Anne Massey's Venus book is I remember going into half price books and these bookstores and there'd be stacks of these for $2. They couldn't get rid of them. They couldn't get rid of this. And this comes from a Llewellyn series that they did in astrology. There's a midpoints book from different author. There's a bunch of stuff. But this Venus book is really good. And just talks about the basics of Venus, the cycle that it does, the math of it, why the glyph is what it is, and when it falls in certain houses. And, you know, this book is hard to find now. It's crazy how much this book is. I can't believe it. Like I said, I used to see these just for whatever. So this Venus book is good. There's a reason why I've had the Venus books out all over my room is because of this week. Here's the other one. Here's another one here that Adam Gainsbourg's book is called The Light of Venus. Adam uh, wrote a book about Venus and her phases, and he has his own terms for which Venus phase that you're born under. This kind of goes back to the Blaschke stuff of Sun, Venus, prenatal conjunctions and all that. You know, there's a very famous book that a lot of people are doing, you know, Venus Star Point. That's Ariel Gutman's work. Adam's got an interesting way of dealing with it. And this book is really good. I wish he would put a Mars book out. But he's got like his birth phase summaries. So like what phase you're in, and he shows it kind of what it is from the astronomical view and basic definitions. And Adam, he's really into the visual astrology, like certain astrologers out there. Like you should know the astronomy of it and how to look at things and understand. And Adam's done a lot of work, and so this book is really good on the Venusian too. The Light of Venus by Adam Gainsbourg, and yeah, Wake Me from This. It's probably Rose Marcus that mentioned Jeffrey Wolf Green. It was Rose. I already know that it was. Um, and then this one I found the other day because I already know this book, but another badass astrologer. I don't know if Ronnie Gale is going to see this, but she's written a bunch of books. She's a Vedic astrologer and Western astrologer out of the East Coast. She's got a Venus book that is amazing, by the way, and she just had a Kickstarter this year because she's going to republish it and re-edit it. And she was one of the first astrologers in the late 80s, early 90s that was talking about Venus cycles, Ronnie Gale Dreyer, and talking about the Inanna myth, Sumerian myth connected to the seven gates of Inanna, when Inanna in that Sumerian myth gets stripped down 7 times to go into the underworld, that's pretty much a metaphor, an exact mathematical metaphor for Venus transits. 7 months, evening star, 2 months behind the sun, 7 months, morning star. This is what Venus does, right? So right now we're about to go into Venus evening star because Venus is still behind the sun, but it's about to rise up in the thing. Anyway, Ronnie wrote a book on Vedic, a bunch of other books, but this book is a little sneaky one that she wrote a long time ago called Healing Signs. And so it says the Astrological Guide to Wholeness and Well-Being. And, look at, for instance, actually, let's see what the Gemini, the twins, right? So she's got all this stuff like gem and color therapy, right? And then Ayurveda, because she's a Vedic astrologer, she gives like that. So kind of basic remediations, um, healing herbs for the Gemini, like for each sign. So a great book. I forgot. Look at this one. She's good. Look at a chapter on repetitive strain injury. The hands, right, of Gemini. So, and look, this is gold. The importance of good posture, and I'm like slinking here. Go find her. She's got some old school website, but her newsletter is really good, and she's about to do her own Zoom webinar for like $40. I think in a couple weeks. I'll try to find this and put this in the links where she's going to do the next 6 months of transits. Mind you, this is the person who knows Western astrology and Vedic astrology and knows her eclipses very well. And in her newsletters, will explain what's going on in both, and really easy to digest. I can't, Ronnie, if you haven't watched this, I can't wait till your Venus book comes out again. I put money towards your Kickstarter to republish it. You deserve to have that republished. You deserve the credit, by the way, for being one of the first people, at least the last 30 to 40 years, to push the Venus stuff. So anyway, this is another book that I picked up the other day for cheap. So I can't didn't know I'm gonna do this. Let me look at the chat, and then I have to wind down. So oh, you have Adam's Chiron book. Yep, I have that one too. Tropical for Gale, yes. Your channel's underrated. I love it here. Thank you. This week, in the last week, I did 3 crazy live streams, especially the last 2, and I lost people. Every time I do live streams and I do my tangential fucking channeling of whatever that I do, I don't give a fuck. But I lose people. And I know I got a bunch of followers from Chris's bookstore stream that kind of came to see me and they saw me do my Sun Venus meditate or whatever, or the purposely done last Sunday's weekly forecast where I'll say this out loud, I'll tell you what I was really doing. I purposely did it in a Gemini way that didn't make any sense, but if you were really paying attention, you picked up certain things in there. So, but thank you for saying that. Yes, this book dialogue has turned into thing. Hey BCB, what's up? How are you? Dora Destroy, we're still here though. Yeah, you're still here. I still got my course. That's my philosophy. It's like whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lose. I'm not having the growth that I want on YouTube, but the growth is gonna happen. I'm gonna accelerate the growth here, hopefully in the next 6 months, but I'm not gonna lose what I'm doing. I do need to do the formality stuff, and it's part of the reason why I'm gonna take a break from sessions here at the beginning of July and kind of disappear for a little bit because I need to just like get it all lined up and I need to sit in the sun, which I did today and yesterday, and I'm gonna enjoy my summer. All right, so thank you, BCB. Oh, an AV, yes. Don't be like everyone else. I can't be like everyone else. I can put on a costume and do my thing. I could do that. Oh, hey, James. Whoa. Thank you, James, for a super chat. James says you've inspired my journey. Oh, dude. James, James, thank you for saying that. And by the way, part of what you're doing right there with that donation is going to help me on a gear thing to help with the sound part of things that I throw here, and a particular something that's going to help me merge some gear that I have here when I have it set up that's so subtle. But James, you're a part of that now, James. And I'm saying that to you. You know why I'm saying that to you, because of your knowledge and appreciation of this stuff. So I thank you. You know, I was sitting here and I'm like, I'm tired. I'm like, I'm not gonna do anything today. Like, I'm gonna go live on the phone and see what the hell happens. And then this happens. I, okay, and I'll get to the rest of the chat. But let me say this: as with anything that I do, or like what maybe you do, right? Where you know you have to do it and you're called to do it, and there's times where you're like, I'm supposed to be doing more, but you're like, I'm not feeling it. You have to gauge that, right? You have to understand, like, I don't have to do it right now. I could just let it go and I'll come back to it, right? This is like when we deal with creative process. So, but for me, I was like I'm not gonna stream tomorrow on Sunday. My surprise stream. I don't think I could do it. And then I was like, don't know, I was just sitting. I'm like, it's okay. People won't see me for a week. Then I forgot about this format, and I was like, I can take the pressure off myself. I don't have to do a certain thing. And saying that, it's also the part of the Gemini way or the Hermes way is you could still do things from a different angle, from a different viewpoint, and the depth is still there. What is vertical here? I don't have my normal setup, but the constant that you find from living a Gemini way of life, there is a constant to the wildness, right? The constant here is I get to be consistently be me in different forms, but the other constant is you, right? You all showed up here, my fans, some of you new here. I'm doing it differently. Like you're right here with it. So you're mutating along with me. You see? And, and so in that sense, in my own mind, I'm thinking, I got to do this type of stream, power stream. I got to have the setup. I got to have the visuals, my weird music, or do whatever. Right? I need to be more formal. I need to be formal recordings and do that kind of shit. But knowing that I could do this or not actually do something. So if you didn't see me in a week, 10 days, I didn't do it, that I know in the back of my mind that the community that we are in here together is just kind of there and supportive and rolls with it, right? So going back to losing subscribers when I do my weird shit or doing whatever is for me the long term is like I want a solid group of people and and at the same time you don't know what's going to happen. I want that edge, that thing where like, oh, Nicholas doesn't announce when he goes live, but he goes live. It's somewhat consistent, right? I'm gonna be a little bit better about the announcements, by the way. But you still don't know what to expect. So you know I'm gonna do a certain thing, but you're kind of like, I hope, or wondering like something's gonna happen. It's gonna be a curveball and all this. My spitballing and some of the shit I do tangentially always comes back to a place if you haven't noticed. So it's really on a deeper level working with me that way. You all some know it or not, but I have my things going on and I do go on tangents, but I always try to bring it back. And so um you get it. Now wait a second now. Wake me from this. Thank you for the super chat. Ah, thank you so much. You got a little three there. I'm seeing something else come in here. Wake me from this dream that I'm in. Don't wake me from this dream. This dream stream. Anyway, wake me from this. Vessels, huh? Thank you for the super chat. I'm seeing another one. Um, oh, wow. I want to get your name right. Takia? Takia Alexander with a red big super chat. Thank you so very much. You came right on time. I don't know if you're saying it to me on purpose that way because I don't know if I maybe talked about this on my stream, but I hear that a lot in my life, in my whole life. I hear that. Showed up out of nowhere. Man, you just came at the right time. And uh, this goes again to what I was just saying. Like I wasn't gonna do this tonight, or I just want to talk for 2 minutes, and then you all are supporting, and I appreciate you. And Taki Alexander, thank you so much for the super chat. It's funny today because I was looking at finances, and just by last month, I had to go to the conference and do all this stuff, and I made my mark, doing there on the conference, and I couldn't do as many things as I wanted to for my personal practice. So I helped with ESAR, the astrology organization. I helped with the conference too with Norwalk, doing some of the Q&As. And I did stuff on Chris's channel out of the blue. And there's other things that I did there, but I didn't get as many interviews that I wanted. And I was thinking the other day, I'm like, I had this plan, I had this gear, I didn't get to do it. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because from a financial perspective, I know things work out or they can. And I'm an example of this right now. So thank you so much. That's buenísimo, huh? Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna catch up with chat. I like it. Wake Me from This says if you hang around long enough, you see Nicholas do an entire play where he's basically channeling characteristics all the time. Is that what's happening? Recommendations for Norwalk lectures? I'm still watching them. I don't know. I'm gonna say watch Ryan Butler's. I haven't watched them yet, but I get a little different for me because I get to watch them at certain times. I know the deadline to watch is probably in the next 48 hours. Um, I don't think Butler gets enough credit. I've seen enough, but he's a really good astrologer and astrological magic, and I'm part of his Patreon. I any the keynote like Diana Rose Harper's keynote. Um, I still haven't got to watch Sailor Moon one with Christopher Renstrom's keynote. Watch the Q&As for sure, the ones I was in, because two of them are really good. Uh, I do have the Cash App, but you figure this out. I'm going back. Sorry, we're going back. Um, Thank you for the comments here. That's really cool. Thank you, James. Do what you need to do. I like weird shit. So do I. Door Destroy. I love your channel. It's underground. Huh. It reminds me of old school public access TV. That's exactly how this is inspired, by the way, is that. I used to do public access in the 90s. Um, Late night creature feeder. Yeah. Oh, and there's more coming in that sense. Oh, man, you guys are taking care of each other in chat as always. All y'all. You're meeting Alexander here and saying what's up to them. Um, yeah, no, again, thank you for the support, y'all. What a wild surprise. I didn't know I was gonna do quick book reviews today. The owl's here. I went from green to red. Um, yeah. What else can I leave you with? I'll leave you with this. I'm pulling stuff out of boxes from my old place. Okay, and there was stuff that, and if some of you were following me for a while, you knew the attic space I was living in and how I had it set up in there. And so what you didn't see what was on the other side of my monitors and cameras, okay? And there were index cards. Here's one of them. Be funny. Have fun and make laughter. Whatever happens, I can handle it. Be fine. Oh, this is just nothing, actually. But yeah, that's some of the things that are around me. Um, yeah, AB says Diana was awesome. Saw Demetra and also, yeah, Demetra's work. And, again, I'm psyched to see it. Simon Forrester I'm a fan of. I did an interview with him. That's going to be one of my 3 questions I'm going to publish. I got a crazy, I do have a 3 questions podcast episode that was good. And I think it's going to come out soon. And that's one of the things I'm going to do this week. It's hilarious, actually. So that's gonna probably come out. I'm gonna throw it to my Patreon members first for a day, but it's gonna be up on the channel. But yeah. Um, Gemmerific, 100% AV. Yeah, yeah. Okay, hey, good to see you, Gem. Um, oh, Jem found the Netflix series on Sailor Moon on Netflix. I thought it was on Hulu, but it's good to know it's out there. Let me catch up with chat. Wow, I got some new people today. I got some old crew. Welcome, new people, to the crew here that you're seeing. It's late night on a Saturday. I didn't know if I was going to get anybody. I'm close to an hour. Let me recap before I go. I talked about the Venus Saturn square that's happening right now and how it's the first Saturn hit that gives us a reminder of what Saturn's going to do with the Gemini stuff, mutable stuff here. Really, the Jupiter and Gemini story and the Saturn Jupiter squares that are going to happen. This week we've had today Venus Saturn. Next week we got Mercury Saturn. We're going to do Mars Saturn down the line, and we want to pay attention to these Saturnian boundaries and ways of pushing things back when things go too far with Jupiter and Gemini. At the same time, you need the crystallization and form and structure and discipline of Saturn to keep the mercurial story together so it doesn't go in a mutable 10 million directions. That's happening today. While on the stream, Mars finally left Aries and went into Taurus. And so now this is a different kind of deal. Mars bringing up the rear in the Taurus story after Jupiter being there for a year, and also the well known, still going on vibes of the Jupiter Uranus conjunction that happened at 21 degrees. It seemed like forever ago. It was like a month and a half ago or whatever. Mars is going to transverse that area, right? But first, Mars will make an intense square to Pluto and Aquarius on Tuesday that triggers the Pluto and Aquarius story at 2 degrees that's going on there. Pay attention if you have fixed degrees at there because that's some hard caustic stuff. Like, be careful with Mars severing, cutting, blasting out, stubbornness of fixed signs squaring each other. That's no joke. I think it's the most tension filled type of squares are more than cardinal, are fixed planets squaring. We go into tomorrow, Venus square Saturn, Sun square Saturn as we speak, Gemini. But we have Mercury sextiling the North Node, which is a good way to end part of this eclipse story. Finally, Mars in Aries leaves, and Mercury in Gemini works with the North Node and the pushing of Mars of wanting to go out and has a mind connection, a some sort of secret guidance of Hermes whispering to Aries. And so then we go into Tuesday, and I mentioned the Mars square Pluto. That's how I started, and this is what I was. I'll go in the chat. The 10th house lecture with Demetra. I can't wait to do. I had amazing conversations with Demetra again at this conference, and some of the things I might bring up in future streams. But it was good to see her. It was good to see a lot of people. And it was good to meet some of you actually, not from Chris's just live stream, but some of you who don't know, who didn't know me, who happened probably to watch Chris's live stream and were going to the virtual conference at the same time. So you caught me in actually what I would be doing in some ways at that conference in person. So I'm really glad to connect with you all. Um, yeah, yeah, no, Mars ingress during the stream. So basically, I don't know where you're at, Alexander, what part of the world you're at, but it happened at 9:34 p.m. Pacific here, which was about 40 minutes ago. And shit, I've been streaming for an hour. Uh, James says, Nicholas, you're the only astrologer in my varied ecosystem who has connected all these themes into a long narrative. That's why you have my allegiance. Thank you. That is something I try to do on these streams and with my clients too. Is to it's I'm a huge story narrative person and opera person and critical of story of TV and movies, and critical in the sense because I've always liked going to the movies, but I'm an old schooler. I'm a come from the philosophy of creative art where you follow cookie crumbs and you know what to be aware of what's going on, but you don't know what's about to happen and how one deals with mystery and what is ahead. And at the same time dealing with on YouTube or dealing with clients, can we put that from a client perspective or YouTube where you're like, hey, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but these are the things. Remember this that happened? This sets up this. That's life. That's story. And if you all you need to know is if you need proof, is not even look at astrology. You just look at any good TV series that you like, or any fascinating deep movie or book or whatever. It's that. That's what it is. It's these chapters and interweaving of characters and story, or planets and signs and transits and aspects. And we do that. That's what we do. We chase stories. We are the stories. We're all the myth. So that's how I like to do. And I'll be honest, the Saturn in me is like, I'm not doing a good enough job with it. And my goal in the next 2 years is to get really good at this, not just on the fly, but some of the other videos I'm going to do that construct them in a way so the visual and the sound are also part of the story that's being fed to connect the thread, the astrological thread, but to use the senses to do something like that. So that's inherently my dream of how to do it. But interesting. Anyway, uh, oh, thank you. I don't know you, but I'm so glad you watched. Oh, you're on East Coast, Tampa. Sweet, sweet. AV says, I love the live stream from Chris. We got to see all the books. Oh, yeah. Wow. Bookstore tour is awesome. I can't wait till Greg opens up his brick and mortar in Seattle. Thanks, y'all. I'm catching up here. All right. Time for me to go. I gotta chill my brain out. Um, and I'm doing work, and gotta do laundry, that kind of shit. I just got a Kindle, so I'm like really psyched to read through that. I'm reading right now. What the hell am I reading? I forgot. It's an astrology book, but I have a couple audiobook that I'm listening to again, which Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. I'm doing an audiobook. I need that in my world. I need Morpheus in my world. I need fiction. I don't need facts all the time. And that's what I'm going to say too. It's like this Gemini stuff. Remember to do fiction in your life. From the knowledge acquisition vibes, remember fiction and fantasy and all that is knowledge acquisition, but it doesn't have to be pure logic all the time. So yeah, that's what's up. Adulting. Um, and this is coming down the highway. Even though I know this game, this is coming down the highway. Some of you know that I've been talking about a second channel to launch where I'm going to do some gaming. And that's one of the things I'm going to set up technically in the next 2 months, where I think I might stream once or twice a month. And there's a couple games I want to stream, and this is one of them. Now, I know this game already. The second one is out there. I'm purposely not looking at what that game is. I don't want any spoilers. But this is the game that I'll probably stream first. And I'm so, I can't begin to tell you this game. Um, it's a grind, but the story, the story. And so that's coming down the pipeline. Um, so yeah. Um, yeah. You know what I love about this? Y'all are intertwined in the chat. Cheers to you. And on that note, it's time for me to go. Thanks for jumping in, y'all. Good to see you. Thank you for the effing donations. Hell, wow. Jupiter's blessing me. And I have to remember with Saturn, put it in the right places. you know, we create our opportunities and we create our luck. Sometimes we're sitting around, we do nothing, and luck walks through the door. Jupiter walks through the door. But I'm a Saturnian guy. My Jupiter's in Scorpio. You create your situations and your luck and your whatever fortune is, the good things. You do have to plant the seed, and you do have to put yourself out there with intention. And that's the way I'm going to end this, is that whatever you're doing in your world, the Gemini part of your chart, the Pisces part of your chart are intertwined here for a year. And what fortune does, or what opportunity does, or the knowledge, the things that can come through your brain and change your perspective and world from the Gemini way, you know, is great. And Saturn can help you really put this into form. Remember, Saturn defines and redefines in the end, and it can come in hard ways. But in this case, between those two parts of your chart, work the two. Use Saturn and Jupiter together. Squares are challenges. They have to find a point. Something needs to shift and change in squares, but literally in mutable signs. So, saying that here, I built something to a point to go randomly live and formally here, and I've had some fortune come my way, not just monetarily, but through your energy, right? And yeah, and you know what makes me excited is that you all are talking about books, and you're all talking about some books that you saw, and you're chasing after the word in a good way. And so, regardless if you ever talk to me again or see whatever, at least I know that something that I put out there might lead you in the astrology world somewhere in a book, a passage and a paragraph that changes your world, that changes or reveals something even in your own part of your chart, or other charts you're looking at, or clients or friends or family, that you have your mind get blasted open in a positive way because of one sentence in a book. And so for me, I'm very happy most of all that you're chasing it. Like, you're like, I want to know about this. You get excited about an astrological transit or concept or some shit. I remember not just one time, but the times in my life in astrology where I was naive but open, wondrous and not cynical. You know what I mean? And to have the moments of like, oh, I am a Gemini. That's right. My Venus is in this. That's right. In that book, I read this. Or that was a way I've always felt internally. And this author or something said it in a way, and then it's just like you're connected and you're not alone. Even though you're alone reading the book, you're not alone. And not only that, you get to take that with you. Just change forever. And to me, books and knowledge, libraries, all of that has everything, everything, everything. And what happens in our own personal lives when we're taking in something like that. So, this what makes me most happy on this stream is that you're all chasing books. So, I'm still doing it to this day. I just got a book in the mail today. I'm still chasing, you know. But anyway, thanks y'all. Good to see you all in chat. Oh yeah, no, I'm seeing chat. Good to see everybody. Okay, time for me to sign off. I don't even know how to end this one. Um. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. You don't see us, but we see you in the books we are seeing. That's beautifully said right there. That's a good one. That's good. Yeah, Layla. I see. Layla. Hello. Hey, Layla. How are you? I'm sorry coming in here, but I'm leaving. I gotta be done. Chasing book. Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Let me write this down. I already had a name for a book segment, but I could call it Chasing Books. I gotta remember this. I have a list of ideas. Maybe for something else, because I do have another title. It's actually titles on YouTube. You got titles sort of where people are gonna watch. Anyway, wake me. All right. Oh man. Yeah. See you later. Take it easy. This is where I wish I had my music. Like I could just do my shit, and I can't do it. It's driving me crazy. I got to figure out how to do this on the phone. Um, yeah, I had to write that down because if I don't, I'm gonna forget. And it's just like list upon list in here. It's just like it's bad news. I'm actually researching note taping apps on my Mac and stuff, different ones that save. Talk about a synopsis for the week is I've been researching a desktop app that transfers to my phone, a specific one, notes, website links, so I don't have 500 tabs open on my browser for stuff, and it puts it together in this way, and I'm so into it. So, all right, time for me to go. See you later, y'all. Take it easy. I think I stop like this. Yes, I found the button. 5, 4, 3, 2,